some good content today. We're going to discuss kind of a multitude of different things, but they're all things that are tangible that you can take and actually implement in your business as you're talking with sellers prospectively and buyers. So the first thing we're going to start out with is how to talk to other agents. So number one, when do you talk to other agents? Somebody help me out. What scenarios?
We're presenting offers.
Yeah, and you talk to the agent before you present the offer, right? If we're doing what we've talked about, you call the agent and ask for a heads up on, what the perfect offer might be. We've had this conversation before. Exactly. When else might we talk to other agents? Maybe when we're getting feedback on our offer, or maybe when we've lost out on an offer. So from the buyer's agent perspective, because that's where a lot of us are going to live this first year, we're going to mainly represent buyers, typically. We are going to be communicating with other agents. It's really important to have good rapport and good phone etiquette, good phone skills, and or if you're texting, good text skills, or if you're good emailing skills with other agents. Why is this important? Here in Central Ohio, there's 10,000 agents. Why is it important to have good phone etiquette or other communication skills?
To sound more professional and validate your offer if you make an offer, and validate yourself really to them.
Yeah, and Brad, why is it important to validate yourself to them?
Well, the main reason for me, like if I know I'm going to write an offer, is I want our offer to stand out. So if we have a personal conversation with the other agent, it's going to make us stand out already a little bit, hopefully. But yeah, it's really just, it makes you stand out a little bit and shows that you went the extra mile to kind of, have a conversation.
Absolutely. I like to pluck serious, actual things that have actually happened from our world. So last week I listed a home. We had 40 showings in one day. We received 6 offers. Guess how many of those agents reached out to me prior to submitting an offer? You would think the right answer would be 6, but the right answer was about 3. 3 agents reached out, 3, maybe 4 agents reached out and had the conversation with me, like, what are your clients looking for? Yada, yada. So I was prepared mentally to receive those offers. Well, one offer came in without letting me know, literally right after we accepted another offer. They made the conscious decision to not let me know that they were going to send over an offer. Therefore, I had no idea that I should wait. It was actually a really strong offer. It actually wouldn't have won, but they completely wasted their own time because they didn't let me know. Therefore, by the time they had submitted and gotten signatures and stuff, it was a moot point. Don't be that agent, right? So number one, we don't ever want you to waste your own time. And so if I reach out to the other agent, either phone call or text, whatever they desire, and I hear, hey, all offers are due by X date. Okay, great. Or, hey, I need your offer now because we're about to accept one. Oh, okay, great. I have different sense of urgencies. Y'all have to know this stuff because I want you to protect your time. And I want you to, most importantly, we got to protect our clients. If we're up against it with a time frame and we don't know about it, then we're likely going to fail our clients. And it's going to look really bad if we took time to drive across the town and go show that property and they fell in love and started placing furniture and pictures and stuff in there. And then they find out, hey, we didn't get our offer in time. It kind of looks bad on us, honestly, as their realtor. So when communicating with other agents, it's really important. What Brad said was true. You want to stand out amongst the other offers. In this market, I said it at the monthly meeting yesterday at the Columbus office, this market is really, really hot and listings are getting tons and tons of showings and many, many offers. So now you know that. This is not a surprise to you. So you should plant that seed for your buyers and any sellers you might be representing of what's going to potentially take place as they're buying a home. And we got to be quick. My key, like, I feel like I've found pretty decent success in this industry because every time I pick up that phone, my goal is not just to get information from the other side. My goal is to try to sound like an appealing co-op agent for that other agent. So my first year, I didn't understand what the term co-op meant. It just means the agent on the other side. So if I'm representing the buyer, my co-op agent is the seller's agent. Does anybody want to work with somebody who's going to be difficult to work with? Not a chance. I don't care how much money. There have been listings that I've represented where the buyer who brought the most money but acted like a you know what and butthead, we did not go with their offer because we knew it was going to be a pain in the butt to work with that person. And honestly, we didn't want the stress. On the flip of that, I've accepted lesser offers because I either knew the agent or in our phone conversations, she or he put my mind at ease so much that I just knew this was going to be a slam dunk. So which one would you rather be as an agent? Probably the person who's bridging that gap before you even write the offer to say, hey, I guarantee my client's gonna, not guarantee, never guarantee, but ease the mind of the seller's agent to say, listen, my track record says that I will close this deal and I have every intention to. Feel free to look at my stats if you want to. And that's something I can use. Maybe a brand new agent can't, but if you've got a number of deals closed, then maybe you can use that line. But at the end of the day, our goal is to ease their mind. I like to try to throw a joke or two in just to try to show that I'm cool to work with. I'm not going to be a stick in the mud. I'm not going to, call you out on any funny stuff. It's just, let's get our clients in contract and let's move forward. So it also helps in case I don't get that offer the next time I run into that person. Now, again, I said there's 10,000 agents here in Central Ohio, and Kevin and Sam, I'm sure there's a buku amount where you're at as well. You don't want to burn bridges. What would it look like if you were a ding dong to another agent and you didn't get this house, and then your client wanted to go see another house that they were listing? You're already 2 steps behind. So the good news is I know the people on this call right here, I have no fears that you have good people skills and phone etiquette. I just want you all to be cognizant of the way that we communicate with other agents. It should be in a winning way, a positive way. So even when I talk very positively. So I've said this before, but the way you say words matters. So I like to physically stand up when I'm having a conversation with somebody and maybe walk around a little bit. That opens up your diaphragm and it makes you sound more, I can understand what you're saying better because you're speaking clearer. I like to smile when I'm talking to somebody. When I'm smiling, it's hard for me to sound negative, right? It's just literally physically when your mouth is in a smile, you can't sound negative. You can't. I hate my life, right? That doesn't sound negative. It sounds positive somehow. I don't know how. I love my life. Anyways, other things, I talk on an upswing. So imagine an exclamation point at the end of your sentence. In English, you were taught that when you use an exclamation point at the end of your sentence, that means you're excited about something. Be excited about having this conversation. Hey, John, I saw you're listing at 123 Main Street, and my clients are so excited to write an offer on this house. They can totally envision themselves there. So what can you tell me about the perfect offer? Great. Well, I'll get this over to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And I really hope to work with you. Thanks so much. And the same goes for text. Anybody who knows me at all, who's seen me text, knows that I use a lot of exclamation points. And the reason for that is I want to demonstrate that I'm excited about these things. So don't be short and sweet and blunt. Massage the message, even if it's a bad message. Massage it to make it sound more positive, especially with your clients. Let's say you write an offer and you don't get the home. This is happening a lot lately. So what does my messaging look like to my clients? It's positive. Hey, the thing that I say to every single one of my clients when we write an offer is, if it's meant to be, it will be. And that gives a lot of people a positive vibe, because they realize that the universe works in different ways, or God, or whoever you believe in, has your best in mind, and the house that you're meant to end up in is the house that you will win. But I don't just stop there with the positive vibes with my client. I'm going to give you a case in point here. So I had a scheduled showing for a really cool property, and that property went into contract. The agent reached out to me and said, hey, I'm so sorry. That one went into contract, and it was period, done. So I reached back out to her and said, do you happen to have anything else that's not on the market yet? This is key, because our objective is to find homes for our clients that will be easier to purchase than going into multiple offer scenarios. If you lose out, or if your clients end up not being interested in that home, always ask the agent, do you have anything else coming or off market right now that your clients would like to sell? So in this scenario, this just happened to me this past week. It was a really high price point cabin in Hocking Hills, which is a big hiking area around here. The property went in contract. I said, do you have anything else that's not on the market yet? She said, actually, yeah, I got two cabins not on the market. He tried to sell them last year. He'd be willing to take X number of dollars for them. I said, oh, okay, great. So number one, I'm doing my job as the fiduciary of my clients to try to find them properties. Number two, we're not going to have any competition with this thing yet because it's off market. That's a beautiful equation. So we just saw these properties yesterday. They're running numbers, and who knows, we might actually offer on these two properties. I'm going to look like a rock star because I asked a very simple question. Do you have anything else off market or coming up? So don't hesitate to communicate with your co-op agents or potential future co-op agents. Am I making sense on all that? Cool.
Yes.
So, end of the day, guys, just call the other agent. Call them, especially if you're going to write an offer. At the very least, shoot them a text, but don't offer willy-nilly without even asking the agent what would win, because you're doing yourself and your client a disservice. You're likely writing a losing offer. Cool. All right, next, I want to talk about listing appointments. I just started with buyers, and I said, basically, most of us are going to probably start with buyers. I think my first year, I probably sold 11 buy sides and 4 listings. The next year, I had slightly more balance. Our goal and our objective as realtors is to have as many listings as possible, because listings drive our business. Listings are much easier. Why? Can somebody explain or give me a couple reasons why listings are easier than buyers?
You don't have to drive all over town to show properties.
Yep. Why else? Somebody take a guess. Why is it better to have? What'd you say, Hugh?
I said because it's the seller's market.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, you're going to get likely multiple offers and hopefully over asking price, as long as the home is in a decent area and in decent shape. Why else? Why is listing a home easier?
The buyers come to you.
Thank you. You don't do hardly anything but put the sign in the yard and take the photographs. You do the marketing, but the marketing is going to help your future business, right? Because people online see you being successful and see you marketing this property, and then they want to use you too. So it's really a win-win-win. Instead of going and showing across town 13 homes, you only have to go once, have a listing appointment, sign the documents, and then boom, the buyers come to you. Also, this is a great opportunity for you to do things like host an open house. So I'm going to talk about sellers now because although you may not mainly work with them your first year or two, I do want you to be well versed in how a listing appointment might go. I'm going to start with a caveat that everyone's listing appointments are different. Ancy had an opportunity to shadow me on a listing appointment yesterday, and Daisy had an opportunity to shadow me on a listing appointment. Both were different. My style with a listing appointment is not going to be your style, and that's okay. But I'm going to share with you the high levels things that you need to know heading into a listing appointment. So let's I'm gonna in the chat, I'm gonna note some things that you guys say. What are some things that we should know heading into a listing appointment?
Comparables?
Comps? Yes. When Aaron says comps, is that closed deals or what? Continue, Aaron.
Oh. Yes, closed deals. Fingers crossed.
It's actually all of them. Closed, active. I'll pay attention to all of it.
Yeah, and Otasha, why would you care about active homes in the neighborhood?
You want to see where they being sold or where they're listed at, and it help you come up with a number or give your client like a ballpark of where they should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just want to have your finger on the pulse of the neighborhood. What else should we know heading into a listing appointment?
I would say some facts about the neighborhood. Some things about what's near.
Sure. Highlights of like restaurants and parks and things to do.
Mhm.
Cool. Someone give me one more thing.
Come on, Victor.
What should we know heading into a listing appointment? Probably the most important thing that you can
Commission?
know. Go ahead.
I was thinking commission percentage.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good to have an idea. You're going to talk to who? You're going to go talk to the house? You're gonna talk to the person. It's really important, even if you don't know this person, to try and get the scoop on who this person is that you're going to go meet with. It's so critical to know who you're talking to because everybody has different personality types. And if I know going into the appointment, how that person is, what type of personality they are, then that's gonna maybe shift gears on how I present information regarding their home. I'll say this, the majority of people you're gonna go to listing appointments on, you already know them. So it's important to know, like, have a game plan of how you're going to attack it. If you already know them and they maybe have a engineer's mindset where they are super focused on numbers and processes, then you're going to have a different conversation than if you go and talk to somebody who's in HR and just likes to talk to people. Maybe they don't care as much about the numbers. They want to know, hey, you know, let's Let's get to know each other. Let's talk about like what our ideal buyer is going to look like and that sort of thing. But moral of the story is you got to know the person. There are many avenues to do this research. Typically, social media is the best way, especially if you don't know the person that you're going to the listing appointment of. So let's say you got a referral, maybe an internet lead that's a seller. I don't know, maybe you set an appointment from a FSBO or Circle Prospecting. You actually don't know this person, but you got their name. Go to social media, do a little stalking. See how they operate, see about their family. Because if you can go in knowing a little bit about them, then you can already have a few nuggets to talk about. A lot of, especially first time new agents, we get really nervous about what to go in and say. And I think Ancy and Daisy, maybe you can talk to this, but what you saw from me yesterday was I just go in and talk to the people and let the conversation flow. But at a very high level, what we want to do at a listing appointment is number one, and Govinda mentioned this in the chat, have an idea of the why behind a sale. This is important. That's called the motivation. Why are they motivated to sell? Do they have to purchase another property? Are they downsizing? Do they have a job to move to? Are their kids graduating? What's the scoop? Understanding their motivation is something that you can then revisit throughout the listing process, just in case things go south and you have to say, hey, remember, I thought we wanted to get to North Carolina by July. We're gonna have to sell this thing pretty quick. So are you getting the house ready to sell? So knowing the motivation is really important. So number one, I love to know the motivation. Number two, my goal during a listing appointment is to get to know the house itself. What do they need to do to fix it up, to maximize their earning potential? And I literally tell them these bullet points. So my goal, Mr. Seller, in having this conversation is to get to know the house. I'm going to keep notes of anything important that you've done in regards to updates or improvements. I'm also going to keep notes on some things that are going to be easy that we can address before we list and before we get photos to really make our listing pop. Because at the end of the day, my job is to get you as much money possible for this home. When I'm done walking through your house with you, I'm going to go back home to my office. I'm going to run numbers and I'm going to derive a pinpoint price that I think this home is going to sell for. After I do that, I'm going to also give you a net to seller sheet. A net to seller sheet simply tells you how much money you can likely expect to walk away from this house sale with after you pay commissions, taxes, and fees. One last thing that I'd love to discuss during this conversation is timeframes. We want to place a strategy into effect for timeframes around photography, timeframes around showings and listing the property, and then even a plan for what's going to happen to you and your family and your dog the opening weekend that we have the listing active, so that you're not in and out of the home, being forced in and out of the home. Because honestly, Mr. Seller, I'm going to market this thing so well that my goal is to get you at least 10 to 20 showings first day. Now, one key to remember during a listing appointment is this, and sometimes I actually say this. Yesterday, Ancy heard me say this. My goal is to under promise and over deliver in regards to the finished product, which is our sales price. I want to give you a really conservative number in hopes that we do the right things on our end and the market cooperates and we get you more than you expect. So that would be me under promising, I'm being conservative, and over delivering, meaning I exceeded your expectations. And what you're doing by saying that out loud is you're establishing a future 5-star rating from that client because you exceeded their expectations. So we're not going to go through a listing appointment right now, But at a high level, what I do before I arrive at the showing, at the listing appointment, is I pull up our MLS. And I look at previous sales in the neighborhood. So as Aaron said, I do want to look at closed units. An appraiser is only going to be able to use closed units within the last year. So that's the way I want to take a look at this as well. What's happened in this neighborhood in the last year? What are the sales prices? But almost just as important is how many days on market are we seeing? Why would a seller care about days on market? Why would a seller care about how many days on market the average home sells for in their area?
One reason could be because if it's on for a long time, then maybe buyers might see that as a red flag.
Yeah. If when I'm doing my pre-work research, I see that the average days on market for this neighborhood, maybe let's say there's been 10 homes that have sold and they've all gone into contract in 3 or 4 days. I know that this is a hot area. We should have no problems really. On the flip of that, if I'm doing my research and I'm seeing 50 days, 14 days, 2 days, 89 days, I know that it's all over the map and I need to be super accurate on our list price. And that message needs to be conveyed at the listing appointment to say, here's the scoop. Homes are selling all over the map. And it's really going to be vital that we nail down the correct price. Otherwise, this thing's going to sit for a while. In Central Ohio, and the same going to happen in Kentucky, there are certain pockets of the city that sell in 2 or 3 days, guaranteed. There are certain parts of the city that sell in much longer ranges. You have to know this stuff going into the listing appointment, because again, we don't want to overpromise, we want to underpromise. So I pull closed units. I also, to Otasia's point, I like to see how many homes are in contract in the neighborhood and how many days on market it's taken the average for them to get into contract. And I like to see what other active homes are out there. Why would I care about active homes when I'm going to a listing appointment?
Competition.
Bingo. In a competition, you have to have the most sex appeal to garner the most attention. So you can gain sex appeal through price, photographs, terms, availability. You have to beat the competition. It would be silly if I had and this will actually help you in your listing appointment. If you say, hey, there's 3 active homes on your street. You drive by them every day. You want to see them? Let's go take a look at them. You can actually go on a showing with your client, and then that will help you zero in on a price point, because they're going to see right then and there that their home's not as nice as this one, and this one's priced at X. So you know you need to be at X minus 5%. Or you can do it the easier way and just take them the listing photographs. Moral of the story, my pre-work, honestly, at this point, it only takes me probably 20 minutes to do my pre-work. But for me, I don't actually print anything out. I don't print a value proposition if I know the person. If I don't know the person, then maybe I need to do that. If I'm going into this competitive, maybe they're interviewing several listing agents, I'm going to have to come with a little bit different approach. I'm going to have to print out some comps, maybe do a CMA for their house ahead of time. Maybe a who I am. Actually have a listing packet can be important. That being said, speaking completely truthfully, if the majority of the people who are going to employ you to sell their home already know you, do you think you need to take that stuff? I don't typically waste my time with a lot of it. If you know your facts, that's going to suffice to most people. So I have some information in the back of my mind. I know how many homes have closed in the area. what the price range is, because as Otacia said, I want to know the price point range of homes, because I'm going to walk into that home not knowing the finishes inside of it most commonly. Therefore, it's going to be impossible for me to walk into the home for the first time and say, here's what your home can sell for. I say that because what if I walk into the home and it reeks of dog and cat pee and the carpet's chewed up and there's no kitchen? I can't possibly sell that for as much as I could if all those things were flipped. So I like to go in with a range, and I actually say this. I say, seller, homes in this area over the last 180 days, 6 months, have sold between $300,000 and $400,000. So that's our range. My objective here is to find out where in that spectrum you can fall. So after this conversation, I'm going to run back to the office and run the numbers and pull comps. Now, other pre-work that I do starts when I'm at the curb. I pull up my phone. This is just the way I do it. Maybe you're a note taker and you like actually having a piece of paper and pencil. But I pull up my notes app and I start a new note. And it literally starts with the address and then underneath it, the seller's names, just so I can keep things straight. And then below that, before I walk into the home, I write down the following. How much do they owe? I'm going to write these things in there. How much do they owe? Why do I want to know that?
Because you're gonna need to know how much it's gonna, well, they're gonna have to have it covered by the other proceeds from the home that's they're selling.
Yeah. You want to be able to create, remember what I said at the start, the objective here is you kind of end with a net to seller sheet. You can't create a net to seller sheet without knowing how much they owe on the home. We're going to end this conversation with a net to seller sheet so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
Okay, can we get one of those?
I'll show you exactly where to go. I'll give you the website and everything. So I write those things down just so I'm reminded to ask them these things. So my first question when I walk in there is, hey guys, not a real question, but I'm going to be on my phone throughout this conversation. It's not me texting, it's me actually taking notes. And my objective here is to take notes so that I can then share them with you later and create kind of a living checklist of things that we can do to increase the value of your home. Is that fair? Great. So what I'm doing through that is saying, I'm not texting and being rude. I'm actually paying attention to you. I'm just writing everything down so I can keep track of it. Now, if you are a paper and pencil person, just explain what you're doing. So throughout the conversation, I'm going to say, Rob, just so I can create a net seller sheet, how much do you own the home? And you might think you're prying, but there's been 0 sellers that have hesitated to tell me how much they owe on the property. So don't worry about it. Just ask. Write it down in your notes. And then I typically like to ask, and I put this in the chat, is there an HOA? And if so, how much is the monthly fee? And what does it include? Do you have the HOA the condo rules and regulations? Because if so, I would like to attach that to our listing so that it eliminates phone calls from other realtors. My objective here also is to get as much information as possible to make it easier on other buyers and other agents. Because if I have a lot of information, I'm able to answer a lot of the questions that they might have. And I want to do that preemptively so that I don't have to actually answer the phone. My goal is to provide as much information as possible to the other side so they don't have to call me. They can just know. HOAs are popping up everywhere, whether you're in a condo community, whether they're attached condos, or now they're producing all these standalone condos. You need to know if there's an HOA and what it includes. I also asked them before I really get started with the tour, hey, have you had any damage to your house in the time you've been here? Things like roof leaks or basement leaks, anything that we should know about. every house has something going on with it. But the reason I ask that, and I say this, my spiel is, I'm asking you this because we're gonna have to fill out a property disclosure, which will denote anything that we can't see with the naked eye, but that you know is an opportunity with the house. And although I can't write that for you, I can coach you on how to phrase things and wordsmith things to make them not sound as bad. So if you did have a roof leak, the verbiage might look something like, had a roof leak in 2019, had roof professionally repaired, no issues since. That sounds a lot better than saying roof leak 2019, period. Right? You want to give peace of mind to any potential buyer. So from there, I say, well, take me on a spin through the house. And to Victor's point from earlier, and this is a bold thing, you want to view this home through the lens of a buyer. What is a buyer going to see? So if, case in point, they have, the sellers have tons of pictures of themselves and their family scattered throughout the house. You all know HGTV by now well enough to know that we need to tell them, hey, we need to cut that in half and then probably cut it in half again. If you're gonna have pictures of yourselves, you can't overdo it because people want to envision themselves in the home, not you. When I pull up to the house outside, I write down any curb appeal items that need to be addressed. Now is spring, right? So maybe they haven't had a chance to mulch. Maybe they haven't had a chance to pluck weeds. Weeds are starting to pop. Maybe they have flower boxes, but no flowers in those. Well, when photo time comes, we need some daggone flowers in those bad boys. There have been times where I've volunteered my services to say, hey, if you can't, especially in a competitive situation where I'm interviewing against other agents, if you offer to assist them with their preparation, don't you think that goes a long way in their eyes? 100% it does. So curb appeal, take the notes down. As you're getting through the house, take the notes down. This isn't rocket science. Thin to win is my term. It goes in golf and it goes in homes. If your home is thin, meaning it's not cluttered with a bunch of furniture, a bunch of stuff, then you're going to look clean and larger than maybe the house really is. However, on the flip of that, if there's furniture all over the place, you can't hardly walk through a room, that's going to look really small and cluttered. My typical rule of thumb that I say to every single seller is this: any horizontal surface you have needs to be cleared off. That goes for kitchen counters, nightstands, dressers, refrigerators. The tops of refrigerators can get loaded up with crap. Clear that thing off, make it look bigger, make it look cleaner. Again, the line is any horizontal surface needs to be clear for photos and showings. You can't pull any punches in regards to the smell of a property. If it smells like dog, lightly tell them that. Say, you know, you guys might not smell it because you've been here for so long and you have dogs, but as a buyer, I come in and I can definitely smell if there's a heavy dog, appearance of a dog odor. Can we maybe plan to clean the carpets really good? Maybe let the house air out maybe a week beforehand. Maybe if possible, let the dogs go to a friend or family member's house. And then we're for sure going to want some air fresheners. Now, notice you're not volunteering to buy any of that stuff. When I say volunteer to help them, volunteer your time. I'm not telling you to go buy anything for these people. That being said, I've totally bought air fresheners for people that I didn't want to tell them their house stunk. So yeah, have the conversations, be blunt with people, but in a nice way. And at the end of the tour, you're going to have a list of things that they can do on your phone. Now, you're not going to tell them, hey, this wall needs to come down. That's ridiculous. We're selling their home and it's a seller's market. Why give them a project that's not going to have any return on investment? Return on investment. When you say that term, you're going to sound like a pro, an expert. So throughout the conversation, in that listing appointment, it's, hey, we're gonna spotlight some things that are going to give you great return on your investment. Touch-up paint is cheap. Magic erasers for your walls that are dinged up, those are cheap. Buying air fresheners are cheap. Buying flowers, buying a couple bags of mulch, those are cheap fixes that don't take a lot of time. And what I always do is offer, hey, if you need a vendor to help you with this stuff, holler at me, I got you. We can help leverage some time. Some people have major projects. Daisy got a chance to go and see a listing appointment with me yesterday where the guy is like a contractor and he's super handy. He's got literally walls torn up. And I know him well enough to know that he can probably have it fixed in a week. But you have to be blunt with the person and say, hey, if we're going to hit this spring market at the right time, we got to have this stuff done quickly because photographs need to be done before we can list it. And it normally takes a day or two for photographs to come. So we don't want to wait too long and miss our window. All right, so now we've done the listing appointment. Are there any questions about listing appointments or anything that you think I missed? No questions, y'all got this? All right. Next step is you go home or go to your office, you pull up your MLS and you pull comps and you compare apples to apples. Now that you've been through the home, you know exactly what you're up against. So you're only, when you're pricing property, you're only considering closed units. Why? Because that's what any appraiser is going to do. Now, there's one caveat to that. If you go through all the in contracts and you notice that something was listed about a month ago and went in contract, you can reach out to that agent and ask them, say, hey, I know you probably won't tell me the exact price that property sold for, but can you at least give me a ballpark? Like, were you way over asking price? And are you closing soon? How was traffic? Basically, you're trying to get information on things that are more recently going to sell. So this happened just yesterday for me. There was a home literally 3 houses down that's in contract. I find out that it's going to close on Monday. And then I had fun with this agent. I said, hey, if it's in contract for over this amount, don't respond. So she responded with a thumbs up. And I said, well, now I'm confused. Is the thumbs up meaning it did or didn't? And she played along and she told me exactly how much, because I was a good agent and we just created some rapport via text message. She told me exactly how much they're in contract for and when they're going to close. So I will be using that as a comp because I know it's going to close in the next couple of days. So by the time we go to list, I'll have that as a viable comp. And by the end of it, she said, what's the address of your home that you're listing? Because maybe we can co-op. So I might already have a buyer. That being said, as a fiduciary for my client, I'm not going to tell her the actual address because I don't want her to steal my client, number one, not that she could, but also I want this to go to market so that I can get multiple offers, not just one. All right. So now you've got comps. You think you know how much it's going to sell for. Now we need to create a net to seller sheet. If everyone wants to write this down, this is the title company that I use their net to seller sheet on. I'm also a part owner of this title company. I should tell you all this. I don't use title companies that I don't believe in. I strongly believe in this organization, and the closer does an amazing job of communicating. Her name is Jessica. She's our point person at Ohio Superior Title. She's awesome. So if you have any title needs, this is your person. OhioSuperiorTitle.co. Okay, we go to services, and then the drop down is net sheet. Now, Kevin and Sam, anyone in Kentucky, you can still use this site. I'm 99% sure. I think you can use it in all 50 states. It's going to spit out similar numbers. The goal of a net sheet is not to be pinpoint precise. The goal of the net sheet is to give your seller an idea of how much they could expect to walk away with after taxes, fees, commissions, etc. So we click on net sheet. This screen comes up. I scroll down. It says instant net sheets at your fingertips. Click to launch the app. Okay, I click to launch the app. I'm brought to this screen here. Okay. Play along. I'm going to use a listing that I have coming up. Let's just say we listed in 2 weeks. The closing date can't possibly be today, right? So we actually do need to change. So if we listed it, let's just say the 12th, and we give it 30 days to close, that puts us right around, let's just say the 12th of June. Let's just say there's 3 strategies of pricing a property. These are important to know, and I think you should take notes on this. When you're pricing a property, and I like to tell the seller this verbatim. Ancy got to hear this yesterday from me, so she knows it's true. I say there's 3 strategies to selling a property. You can either price the home high for how much you want to make and hope that just one person comes through that actually will pay that. You can price it where I think it'll sell, which is typically what I think it's going to appraise for versus comps. This approach typically gets pretty good sized traffic and hopefully multiple offers. Therefore, maybe you actually end up with that high price point. The third option, and the one that I prefer the most, is to price it a little bit lower than you think it actually, than I think it's going to actually sell for. Reason being, this is going to drive the most traffic. It's going to drive the most offers. And honestly, at the end of the day, we might end up with more than this one method over here of pricing it high. So by planting that seed in my seller's mind, they realize, okay, maybe I should price it lower. Now, when I'm creating a net sheet, I can actually create as many different price points on one sheet as possible so that they can see those 3 scenarios play out. So I actually think that this home should be listed at $479,900. Their amount owed, let's just say they owe $200,000 still on the property. Is the seller paying title insurance? Every part of the country is different, but here in Central Ohio, the seller pays title insurance. So yes. Did you know though that if the seller purchased the home within the last 10 years, they still have title insurance on it. Therefore, their amount owed will be prorated. So in this scenario, they've only owned it for 4 years. Let's just say, yes, it was within the last 10 years. How much was the previous title insurance policy? Let's say $1,500. Okay, and then we select what county. Doesn't really matter, I don't think. And then how much was the previous year's taxes? So all you need to do to find this out, can anyone tell me where to go to find tax information for a property?
Auditor's website.
Yep. The auditor's website. Now in Kentucky, you guys call it something different. What's that called?
PVA.
Yes, thank you. That has all the information about previous owners and tax history, etc. So I go to the auditor's site and I know that this was $9,100 for taxes last year. It's in Upper Arlington, so you're going to pay a lot. Next, there's a closing fee for the title company and then commissions. So let's just say it's 6%. I don't need to write this information here. I don't even really need to write the address, but I will. Let's just say 123 Main Street. Anyway, whatever. All right, and now I calculate. Notice here, this populates their top line. Hold on. Okay, so they're going to sell it for we'll round up to 480. There's all these debits that add up to them walking away with $238,000. But remember, I told you there's a way to calculate all 3 price points that I suggest. So we can actually go back to edit. Do a multiple offer scenario. And change another, and add another price in there. So we're gonna say, okay, let's say we price it low and we get an offer that comes in at $500,000. Okie dokie. Still Franklin County. All the other numbers stay the same. We're gonna do one last one. And we're gonna say, at the high end, maybe you can make 525. Now let's run this and let's see what the sheet looks like. All right, this sheet then that I can save and send to them so that they have information at their fingertips and they know that I'm doing my end, my job, looks like this. So let's just say we decide to list at 479.9 and we get that amount. They can expect to walk away with what's happening. Calculate. They can expect to walk away with 238, 249. 24. If, however, the plan works and we get another offer that comes in at 500,000, so 20K over, we're looking at 257. But best case scenario, let's just say this is best case scenario, but honestly, they could obviously make more. 525 is a sales price, then we're at 280. They're going to obviously hone in on the highest price point, right? That's our human tendency to say, well, I want to make the most. So why don't we just list it at 525? That's when you're going to combat them and say, well, listen, if we price it at the high end, we're not going to attract anyone who has their list, their search criteria at 500 under. Right? So if I'm setting up a search for somebody and I don't include anything 525 and under, we're not going to get those eyeballs. In my experience, use this shamelessly, steal shamelessly from me. In my experience, when we list it for lower, we attract more attention. More attention leads to more offers, more showings, and better terms. So by starting here, I'm confident that we can end up closer to here or here. But again, I need to be conservative and under promise so that I can have a chance to over deliver. If we start out here, I'm over promising potentially and likely under delivering because I can't market the property as well as I could if it were cheaper. It's pretty common sense to us, but it may not be to somebody who's looking to get as much for their property as possible. So then I actually save this, I send it to myself, and then I send it to the client so that I have a copy of it. And in that email that I send to them and subsequent text message, I say, hey, just a heads up, I sent you the net to seller sheet just like I promised you I would. Thank you so much for letting me see your property today. I can't wait to help you list it. Let's talk about time frame. Something along those lines. But spit this thing out quick. You don't want to sit on this for a couple of days because they're going to think that you don't care about them and that their listing is not important to you. What questions do y'all have about net to seller sheets?
My question is, where do you get these numbers from? Like the
Estimated, so the sales price is when I do comps, I'm pulling comps from the MLS, meaning I'm doing my research on closed deals, typically within 180 days. But if I have to go back to a year, I can. So that's how I get the sales price. The estimated mortgage payoff comes directly from the seller when I'm in their house. Remember, I asked how much they owed on the house?
Okay.
Tax prorations, that's just simply, I put in the number of how much taxes they paid last year according to the auditor's site. All these other things are automatically calculated. So notice I didn't put $75 in there for document prep fee. That's automatically calculated.
Okay.
And then all this, notice I didn't do a lick of math. It spit this out on its own. Net to seller
So the-
sheets are super impactful for us to use and super helpful.
So everything like the parcel, transfer fee, tax operations, the conveyance tax and all of that, closing fees and stuff was automatically generated?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we just.
And again,
basically have
I like
put-
to caveat this by telling my seller that this is not guaranteed. Like if we sold for 479.9 on the dot, these numbers might look slightly different, but this is a really good ballpark guess.
Okay.
Hopefully this was a good conversation. We covered a lot of ground. Hopefully you're all getting listing appointments. Guys, I'm telling you, if you're not busy right now with buyers or sellers, you're not trying hard enough. The market is starting to really pop. In this week alone, now I know I'm further along than you guys are, but I've had 3 or 4 people reach out to me about listing their home. Why? Because the weather's finally starting to turn. If you're not getting the business that you want right now, then change what you're doing. Have more lead generation time, get in front of more people, and go get your unfair share. I can't say it enough. You earn what you earn in this career. If you're earning 0, then you earned it. If you're earning a lot, then you earned it. Do the work. Love y'all. This recording will be available on your local YouTube channel in the next couple days. Talk to you later. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.